Had a lot of conversations with folks from the Palmetto State back in August. Round one of LSU's South Carolina swing was a positive when LSU beat Clemson in the opener. Now trying to sweep the state with the South Carolina Gamecocks coming into Tiger Stadium on Saturday night in Death Valley. Tyler Head talks about those Gamecocks in Columbia. He's with 107.5 The Game. Good enough to give us a little time here on this Thursday. He's with us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Tyler, thanks for the time. How are you?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Appreciate you doing the call-in on my show earlier, and happy to be returning the favor.
It's good to have you. Let's chat about this Gamecock team. I like to ask this question first. Like, give me a vibe check in Columbia. I know last year was really strong, kind of out of nowhere, and the expectations were high in August for this team. Like, what's the feeling around that program with the fan base right now?
I'd say it's kind of teetering a little bit, and you're right. You know, this past offseason was so much fun having a team that was so talked about, so relevant, you know, appearing on this list, and Sellers being talked about with the Heisman Trophy and being a first-round draft pick, something that just Carolina hasn't experienced a lot over the years. So that was a lot of fun. It built up to what we thought was going to be a really fun season. And the way the first 5 games looked on the schedule, it looks very manageable. Yeah, you had a tough trip to Missouri. That's always tricky, a place that's been a house of horrors for the Gamecocks over the years. But you saw a feasible path to maybe start 4-1 and being ranked somewhere in the top 20 probably by the time the trip to Baton Rouge came around. It just has not gone that way. The defense has been fine, been okay. Some games better than others, but the offense has just been unexpectedly bad, right? You're struggling to score 20 points a game. You have no running game. Sellers hasn't looked like himself. There's a lot of reasons for that, but you have a fan base right now that went from thinking you were seriously going to be in the mix for the college football playoff once again to now hoping, when you look at the schedule, starting with LSU this upcoming weekend, hoping to win 6 games to get to a bowl. So it's shifted pretty quickly. And if they go into Baton Rouge and lose on Saturday and fall to 3-3 and 1-2 in conference play, it's going to be some bad vibes for the next couple weeks going forward.
Let's talk about that offense because, as you mentioned, Laura Sellers came in with so much hype. There were some that figured he could be the top pick in the NFL draft, and they just haven't been able to score. What is the biggest problem for South Carolina offensively?
I think it's almost kind of a hesitancy with him when it comes to taking off and running. And we knew last year when Dow Loggins took the Appalachian State head coaching job and Mike Shula became the OC after being his quarterback coach a season ago, there was going to be more emphasis this offseason and put on making him a better passer, which there's nothing wrong with that. Sellers had his ups and downs in the passing game a year ago, and finding him there is fine. But what we've seen through the first couple games is almost like a overthinking, right? What made Sellers so special a year ago is when the play broke down, he'd take off and run. And sometimes that would involve dumping an edge rusher over his shoulders and making a spectacular play where he skirts up the sidelines for 25 or 30 yards. And he has done that a little bit this year, but not in the same way. It's almost like he's thinking about it too much, trying to stay in the pocket, and he's eating some pretty ugly sacks. I go back to the Missouri game where they had a first and goal on the 2-yard line, and he immediately gets sacked for a loss of like 13 on that next play. And like things he just wasn't doing a year ago, where it feels like he's overthinking it. And look, defenses are scheming to prevent him from hurting with their legs. That Missouri game, they routinely had 2 linebackers spying him to make sure he wasn't going to take off and run. But we have an athlete that special, even when defenses are trying to stop you, you can still make plays happen. And it's almost like he's not confident in that ability anymore, or he doesn't want to lean on that too much, and that's something we're still trying to figure out. It's clearly a problem, and we don't know what's being said behind closed doors with Coach Beamer and Mike Shula, but if you can unlock that same Sellers from a season ago, you would feel a whole lot better about this offense because you have nothing going on your ground game with running backs right now. And you look back at that Missouri game, the only reason why Carolina was in it because Sellers was able to throw the ball pretty effectively down the field. And I'm assuming that's going to be a big key for tomorrow night as well, or Saturday night as well.
You mentioned the ground game. Not to harp on the negative here, I do want to get to the non-offensive touchdowns that they continue to rack up. But you're missing Rocket Sanders there from that backfield as far as running back goes. The offensive line, it doesn't appear, is replaced Torricelli Simpkins, who's playing down the road for the Saints as well. Like, what does that running game look like, and has there been any point where they've been effective?
They've tried a multitude of things, and you'll probably see this on Saturday. Mike Shula is not afraid to try and run the ball up the middle. It's not been effective, but that's going to be a part of the game plan on Saturday, whether it works or not. And, Rocket Sanders came in and did a great job last year. And look, we knew what he was coming over from Arkansas. We'd seen him be productive in the SEC before. And the big thing this offseason was Rasul Faison coming in from Utah State, had a 1,000-yard season last year. And then we waited for his eligibility to get cleared. Happened right before the Virginia Tech game. So it's like, okay, he's ready to go. Now let's see him go out there and rip off some good runs. And he had a crazy good run against Virginia Tech where he had to make a guy miss in the backfield and ran for 34 yards. So it's like, okay, now we're getting something here, but hasn't really done much since then. And these last couple of weeks, they've really been rotating guys. So him, Oscar Attaway, who was here a season ago after transferring from North Texas, Matthew Fuller, who's a second-year guy, got a bulk of the carries against Kentucky. And when you look at his numbers, they look fine, but the majority of those runs and yards came in the final drive, and they were just running out the clock. So nobody's really stepped up and taken that RB1 role. Isaiah Augustus transferred in from Colorado. We really haven't seen him since the first game of the season. So you just don't have an identity with your running backs as of right now that you can lean on to at least even make like something like play action, fool the defense enough to really keep them on their toes to where you can make some plays happen through the pass game. And again, Shult's going to run the ball up the middle, or he's going to try to, but I don't know many defenses that are afraid of what the offense is going to do on the ground. And it doesn't help that you're having injuries pile up on the offensive line. I'm sure you saw last night's availability report where one offensive lineman's out and two others are on the doubtful part of it right now.
Yeah.
And that improved because you're starting to really rotate through different guys up front. And, even with your original starting five, you weren't getting a good push up there. And we're all very aware of how good that LSU defense is against the run. And I don't see this as a game where they suddenly break out and figure something out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Tyler Head's our guest, 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina. Let's talk about the Gamecock defense, as that was a tenacious group, especially up front last year. I still recall just how badly they whipped Texas A&M at the point of attack, really for 4 quarters in that game in Columbia. Dylan Stewart's back, and I talked about him in the first hour, but is that front still a quality unit?
It is good. It's not as experienced as it was a year ago, and you look at all the guys that got drafted, half of them off that defense, with most of them coming from that front seven. You knew you were going to lose some quality there because those guys have played a lot of football, between the ones that have been in Carolina for a long time and guys like Kennard that transferred in and had a phenomenal season. They're still trying to get their feet under them a little bit. They had a bad 2 weeks against Vanderbilt, Missouri, missing a lot of tackles and letting up a lot of yards on the ground. The secondary's been pretty solid. Judge Collier, one of your main starting corners, has been on the injury list. It was once again last night. We're hoping he's going to be coming back on Saturday. Full go is Braden C's done a fine job on the other side of the field when it comes to playing that quarterback spot. But they've been okay, and I think the last game against Kentucky, they did a great job. And you don't know if that's fool's gold by playing a really bad team, or if that's a sign of things to come turning in the right direction. And again, you got a very talented offense there at LSU that I know is not lived up to the standards that people were hoping so far, but we're hoping that Carolina's defense is starting to turn in the right direction as you get in the middle part of the season, because you have a lot of talent, have a lot of capable guys that are replacing a lot of production from a year ago. And again, it's still kind of in that not confident enough, but feeling okay about it right now.
Feels like there's been a lot of really quality special teams play for South Carolina, scoring touchdowns, blocking kicks, that kind of stuff. Do you feel like if South Carolina is going to come here and win, that they probably need to make a game-changing play in that phase?
Yeah, whether it be some returns on defense, like a kick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown, or having some of those special team scores. I think that's going to be a big key if Carolina's going to go in and win this game on Saturday night. And Bakari Swain came out of the gates red hot with those 3 punt return touchdowns in the first 2 weeks, and that's a lot to ask for. But if anything, being able to flip field position, I know you guys got a really good punter, so that's going to be a problem there. And Nick Harbor returning kicks is almost broken off a couple this year, save for a few blocks that didn't get made, around midfield. So you feel like he's kind of bursting at the seam to be able to break out and make something happen in the return game. But, yes, I very much think those non-offensive scores and big plays are going to be a big key if Carolina's going to go in there and win this game against LSU on Saturday.
Tyler, we appreciate some time. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks.
Tyler Head from 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina. As he mentioned, I went on with him earlier today, and obviously he returned the favor here, and we certainly appreciate that. It just feels like this South Carolina team is struggling. Like they're just struggling on offense to find much of anything. They're coming into Tiger Stadium against a really, really good defense. The defense has been just okay, and as I mentioned earlier, if you're clinging to what you were able to do against Kentucky, that's a tough thing to cling to, and it just feels like South Carolina is stepping into a gauntlet here that just about nobody could maneuver. I mean, you're talking about a schedule for South Carolina coming up here that would be there is probably not a team in the country that could navigate this stretch unscathed. Like there have been years where nobody was going to beat Ohio State, nobody was going to beat Bama. They're about to play at number 11 LSU. Home number 6 Oklahoma, home number 8 Alabama, at number 4 Ole Miss, at number 5 Texas A&M. That's 5 in a row against top 11 teams, 3 of them on the road. That's just very, very difficult way, especially when your team is not firing on all cylinders like South Carolina's really not. So, hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button. Leave your comments below and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.